Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another indie book review. If you're wondering why I'm holding a sword, it's because today I am reviewing Aries by Carly Spade. And also because my husband bought me a LARP sword as an early birthday present, and I'm low-key obsessed with it. But it is prudent because we are talking about a romance with the god of war himself. Now, this is the third in the Contemporary Mythos series by Carly Spade. I actually technically never reviewed the first one. I just read it and vlogged it, and then saw the second one on an ARC site and was like, hey, the ARC site isn't working for me, but I still want to review this. Do you mind? And she sent me the link, or actually I think it was a download for it. And then I think we just kind of come to an understanding, because I didn't even ask for this ARC specifically. She just sent me it. So I guess I'm just now a regular reviewer of the series, and I'm not mad about it. So this book is about Mars, aka Aries, who is currently an MMA fighter at the beginning of this book, meeting Harmony Makos, who is also an MMA fighter. And there's a lot of anger, just so much anger throughout this book. And that's something I kind of got to bring up ahead here, because I liked this book less than the first two, but I also have to recognize that that's probably a lot of my own personal thing, because I am, I see her holding a sword, actually pretty pacifistic. This is a firm sword, okay? But even the LARP character I play is an Oath of Redemption paladin who fights only as a last resort. And in my real life, I am a special needs para and foster parent. So, like, the entirety of my real life is de-escalating anger and other big emotions and helping people calm down. So reading a book about two very angry people was significantly more disquieting than the first two books, which probably says something about me. But if you're that kind of person that likes the big, passionate stuff, then I would highly suggest this one. There is a lot of talk about fighting, and it reminds me a lot of all the dance terminology that was used in the second book in the series, Apollo, in that it was very obviously researched. I have no idea if this is something the author has any kind of first-hand experience with, but I definitely felt like she knew what she was talking about to some extent. However, that also meant that I didn't really understand the fight scenes all that much, and I didn't really care to. I kind of was like, okay, they're fighting. Okay, they won. Okay, they lost. Like, I just needed to know the fight was happening and who won or lost or who got injured or whatever. I didn't really need to know, like, the feinting, the jabs, the uppercuts, the whatevers. So that kind of went all over my head. Kind of like the dance terminology from the second book, but I feel like a lot of people never fully understand action scenes, so that's not the biggest deal. This book also was slightly more of a struggle to me, because with the first two books, there was a very obvious gap in the pantheon, because the idea of the books is not only are the gods finding their partner, but that partner then not only becomes immortal, but becomes a deity themselves, so they have to be the deity of something. And it was obvious in book one because Persephone had left, so there was a spot open for the Queen of the Underworld. And in book two, there's so many different aspects to art and muse and inspiration that it was fairly easy for the mortal in that one to find her place in what is a very multifaceted area. But like War and Anger already had other deities, like both Athena and Ares are deities of war and battle, so like the mortal character in this one felt a little bit more ham-fisted in, and I'm not sure that I entirely like the actual like solution they came up with, like why she's the goddess of what she is. It didn't feel as natural. This book also showed a lot more difference in the canon from the usual mythology. So if you are like super diehard traditional mythology, well, I don't know why you're reading the series in the first place, but maybe you're like, okay, I can accept that Persephone left Hades. Depending on your read of that situation, that would be something she would do. But in this one, they start retconning older stuff that happened, like canonically in the Greek pantheon, Ares and Aphrodite slept together. Aphrodite was with Hephaestus and cheated on him with Ares, and yes, they're siblings. The Greek pantheon has no problems with that kind of thing. And in this one, a lot of that gets retconned. Like, Hephaestus is single and Aphrodite has no interest. I mean, technically she might not have any interest before. Like, she did cheat on him. But, like, a lot of relationships are altered. And this one they said that Ares and Aphrodite never slept together and that Homer was just lying. So it takes a lot more liberties with this one, which is kind of strange because it's also does a lot of deep dives on things too, where like it brings up a lot of little known stories, or at least little known if you're like a mainstream reader that hasn't, obsessively read Percy Jackson. So it's kind of this weird mix of both loving the niche, little known stories of the Greek pantheon, but also retconning a lot of the more commonly known things. And I mean, I'm kind of to the point where if you're going to do anything with the Greek pantheon, just accept that incest was a thing that happened. It was just there. It was just a thing. Like, because technically, like, basically all of them were siblings or somehow biologically related to each other. Like, literally all of them. So there's really no point in trying to take that apart. But, I'm still looking forward to what's coming up next. I really, really liked the name drop of Hestia in this one. She's still my favorite hipster cottagecore goddess. And I like that the little bit you hear about her in this one did fit in with her character, even though it's not how I would have written Hestia, but that's fine. There's a lot more of a bigger cast. There's a lot more possibilities for different pairings moving forward. I will say that we are quickly getting to the point where things are going to get repetitive in the series if they keep happening. Like, obviously, I mean, Zeus is a dick. Zeus is always a dick. It's in its character. You can't really do Greek pantheon stuff without making Zeus a dick. Well, I mean, Disney did, but like Disney basically Greek bounded that story. Anyway, basically the idea of Zeus always meddling because he apparently wants everyone to pair up is a little bit strange, and that keeps happening. And admittedly, this one didn't have as much big action as the other two, which I found strange. Like, there was a giant battle like between gods in the first one. Yet this one, where the god of war is literally a thing, there wasn't. And I don't know if that was on purpose or not, or she just didn't want to like keep doing the same thing. But the idea of, male god, female goddess, like, I would like to see some things switch up moving forward. But in general, still a nice series, still a quick read. It's definitely lighthearted, more chick flick than angsty type stuff. Even this one, where like the female protagonist had like the bad childhood stuff, it didn't come up in super depth. Like, it was talked about and it was like the reason for her anger, but like the actual stuff that happened was talked about so briefly. At certain times it almost made it seem like her anger was out of proportion because you didn't know super a lot. But in general, this is still more of the same if you liked the first two books. This one I gave 4 stars, which is less than the other two. But again, I'm gonna put that down to more my own personal preference. And I just like the happier deities, which is strange to say because I also loved Hades. But the whole point of that one was, I guess, Hades becoming happier. Anyway, not a big fan of severe anger all throughout the book. But I would highly suggest this one if you would like some more good mortals falling in love with gods. I just really would love it if there came a book where the mortal was the man and the deity was woman. Or gay romance. Always gay romance. Always queer. Queer is just always my favorite. Regardless, I think I've rambled on for long enough. Thank you so much for watching me wave a sword around in a book video for no particular reason. Still closed. Still not catching up. I've slowed down a lot, actually. So I'm probably farther from opening than I even thought about to begin with. And this has gone on long enough. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.